Archaeologists in northern Scandinavia often find things that leave modern scientists scratching their heads in bewilderment. But if they could peer into the past, they would see you, an old, gray-haired grandfather who has survived dozens of harsh winters. For you, winter in the Viking Age isn't just a cold season. It's a merciless daily test of your right to keep breathing. Today, people put on high-tech jackets, turn on powerful heaters, and still complain about a light frost in the mornings. But in your world, the stakes are entirely different, and survival depends on ingenious engineering methods that modern science has only recently discovered. At first glance, your methods seem primitive and even a little crazy to an unprepared modern city dweller. Why would you share a cramped room with livestock or sleep in a cloud of acrid, eye-stinging smoke? Yet every decision you make is dictated by the harsh physics of survival, where the slightest mistake means instant death for you. A modern person in your circumstances would freeze to death on the very first night, despite all their technological confidence. But this is where things get truly interesting, because you aren't just surviving, you're living in harmony with this icy hell. You know how to make the cold itself work for you, turning a deadly threat into a reliable ally. Outside, a wild blizzard rages. The temperature plummets far below -30, and the icy wind could easily knock you off your feet. Meanwhile, you sit calmly inside your longhouse, carved out in the very heart of a merciless snowy landscape. Your dwelling looks like a huge upside-down ship, which you have carefully covered with a thick layer of frozen earth and turf. Modern engineers spend decades and millions of dollars creating energy-efficient homes with vacuum insulation. But 1,000 years ago, you were already using the perfect insulator that the harsh wilderness provided you with completely free of charge. Your earthen roof works flawlessly, keeping every drop of precious heat inside. The turf on your roof and walls acts like modern construction foam for insulation, only it weighs several tons. The snow constantly falling from above isn't a problem for you. On the contrary, it creates an additional powerful barrier against the biting wind. It sounds strange, but these huge snowdrifts serve as an excellent down comforter for your entire massive wooden home. If researchers measured your home's thermal resistance, it would easily surpass the standards of many modern brick buildings. That's exactly why your home stays warm inside, even when wild northern birds are freezing to death outside. You can breathe in the warm air at your leisure while a veritable icy death rages beyond the wooden walls. The centerpiece of your wooden universe is a large, open hearth situated right in the middle of a long, spacious room. Here, you have no modern radiators or even the brick stove with a tall chimney that we're used to. Your fire burns right on the floor, and the smoke slowly rises toward a small opening in the very center of the high roof. This seems illogical, since any fire inspector today would faint at the sight of your reckless engineering design. But this ingenious construction allows precious heat to be evenly distributed throughout the entire space, rather than escaping uselessly up the chimney. You warm your whole body, feeling the infrared radiation bounce off the walls and ceiling right onto you. Naturally, acrid smoke accumulates under the ceiling, creating a thick, dark curtain right above your graying head. My lungs start to burn just thinking about your daily ordeal with carbon monoxide and soot. However, you and your huge family always sit or sleep on low benches, remaining in the zone of relatively clean air. Your smoke cushion up above actually acts as a heat trap, reflecting the heat back down onto you and your loved ones. Modern physicists call this complex phenomenon air stratification, but you simply call it home comfort. You brilliantly master the physics of gases without knowing a single complex academic term. But it gets even more interesting here because you're far from the only source of heat in this huge house. At one end of your long building, all your livestock is safely spending the winter: cows, sheep, and goats. It sounds like a surefire recipe for terrible sanitation and disgusting odors that no normal person could possibly tolerate. In reality, your animals generate a massive amount of biological heat, working around the clock as powerful living heaters. Essentially, you've created an ancient central heating system where ordinary hay serves as fuel and the cows act as radiators. You fall asleep to the quiet mooing, knowing full well that this living biomass won't let you freeze until morning. Of course, the distinctive smell in your room could easily knock an unprepared modern office worker off their feet. The thick mixture of wood smoke, unwashed bodies, damp sheep's wool, and cow manure creates the unique aroma of the Viking Age. But your brain is wired so that your receptors reliably block out all these familiar smells after just a few long hours. You don't even notice this stench, because to you it's the sweetest scent of safety and a survived freezing night. If the air smells of manure and smoke, it means you're alive, you're warm, and your family isn't starving. In this harsh world, the absence of smells would mean only that your hearth has gone out and your animals have frozen to death. Your sleeping arrangements are also thought out down to the smallest detail to conserve every precious calorie in your body. You often sleep in a special enclosed bed that strongly resembles a massive wooden cabinet with small doors. Once inside, you close the doors tightly, creating an ideal microclimate that is heated solely by your own breath. Today, tourists buy incredibly expensive sleeping bags for extreme mountain conditions to achieve exactly the same warming effect. And you've simply built a wooden box that keeps your temperature at the perfect level throughout the long polar night. It's your personal energy-saving cocoon, protecting you from any drafts wafting through the big house. Your winter sleep schedule is radically different from our modern, uninterrupted 8-hour office routine. You go to sleep shortly after sunset, wake up in the middle of the long night for a couple of hours, and then fall asleep again. You use this dark period of wakefulness to stoke the fire, have quiet conversations, or make minor repairs to your gear. Today, scientists confidently call this biphasic sleep and confirm that it is the most natural rhythm for the human body. It turns out that modern trendy tips for improving sleep quality simply copy what you do out of sheer necessity. You listen to your body, not an alarm clock, and this allows you to maintain incredible alertness. Keeping a bright fire burning is not just a minor household chore for you, but a matter of absolute survival. If your red embers go out at night, the temperature in the house will drop to critically lethal levels in a matter of hours. That is why you always leave a huge, thick log to smolder slowly until morning, generously covering it with gray ash. Your ancient art of oxygen control saves lives far more reliably than any steel sword or sturdy oak shield. Losing the fire in the cold winter means voluntarily signing your own death warrant without the slightest right to appeal. You wake up in the middle of the night just to check the pulse of your hearth and make sure you're safe. Thus, your longhouse is not merely a shelter, but a complex engineering system designed to adapt to a hostile environment. Every oak plank, every layer of earth, and even the placement of horned animals serve a single, strict, and clear purpose. A modern apartment with a mortgage and all its smart systems is totally dependent on fragile power lines and distant servers. Your dwelling, however, depends solely on your knowledge, life experience, and the fundamental laws of inexorable thermodynamics. And to be honest, in the face of a real ice apocalypse, your energy-independent option seems far more reliable to me. You control your living environment so masterfully that the cold simply breaks its teeth on your wooden walls. The survival of your old body in extreme cold requires a colossal amount of energy, and the math here is absolutely ruthless. In conditions of constant cold, your body burns up to 5,000 calories a day just to maintain a normal temperature. That's significantly more than a professional lean cyclist consumes during the most grueling mountain stages of the famous Tour de France. To cover such monstrous energy expenditure, your diet must consist of the most calorie-dense and nutrient-rich natural fuel possible. You simply couldn't physically get by here on ordinary green salads or modern low-fat diet yogurt. You fill your biological furnace only with the highest octane fuel, which provides a long and intense fire. The foundation of your winter diet is dried and heavily fermented fish, which can be stored for many years without issue. Protein is great, but in the extreme northern cold, you need pure, concentrated animal fat. The cod you've dried in the biting, freezing wind becomes as hard as granite, and you have to chip it away with an axe. It sounds like terrible cooking, but this stony, icy fish retains all the vital nutrients you need. Essentially, you're eating a medieval protein bar with an infinite shelf life and an incredibly harsh, briny taste. You chew on it for hours, feeling the salty energy slowly spread through your frozen veins. But your real secret to survival lies in an amazing product that Icelanders still proudly call skyr. It's an incredibly thick fermented milk curd, vaguely reminiscent of modern-day cottage cheese, but with a massive protein and enzyme content. You can safely store barrels of this product for months, as the aggressive lactic acid kills any dangerous bacteria. Modern, smart nutritionists sell us dubious probiotics in pretty plastic jars for crazy, exorbitant prices. You, on the other hand, get perfect protection for your gut simply through the proper natural fermentation of ordinary sheep's milk. This thick mass gives you the strength to swing an axe even when your muscles are begging for a long-awaited rest. The lack of fresh, sweet fruits and vegetables during the long winter would inevitably have led to the development of the dreaded scurvy. This dreadful disease decimated crews of experienced sailors for centuries after the end of your Viking era. However, you, wise old man, know hidden secrets that prevent your teeth from falling out due to a severe lack of vitamin C. You regularly chew bitter pine and spruce needles, brew pine needles, or eat tough seaweed gathered from the icy coast. You intuitively find rich sources of antioxidants in places where, it would seem, there is nothing living at all. Your natural ingenuity works better than an entire modern laboratory producing synthetic vitamin complexes. Cooking hot food also requires a true engineering approach, since metal pots are a huge luxury. Most often, you use wooden or thick leather containers, which absolutely must not be placed directly over an open fire. You carefully remove the heavy stones, red hot from the fire, with your tongs and toss them straight into the prepared broth. Your ice-cold water boils instantly, and the hearty meal takes on a light, distinctive flavor of wood ash and thick smoke. This strange method allows you to quickly cook thick meat soups without any risk of burning your precious wooden cookware. You apply the laws of heat transfer with a mastery that any renowned modern chef would envy. Fresh meat is a huge rarity for you in winter, and preserving it properly becomes a complex art form in its own right. Salt is too expensive, so, like a practical Viking, you use the bitter cold and icy wind as your primary preservatives. You also ferment the meat in whey, or simply bury it deep in the ground until it reaches a state of slight decomposition. It sounds like the perfect recipe for severe food poisoning and an immediate trip to the emergency room for a modern person. But powerful fermentation completely breaks down toxins, making your meat absolutely safe and incredibly easy to digest quickly. Your stomach is churning because you've trained it on food that defies the very concept of freshness. Thirst in a dry, frosty climate kills just as surely as the cold, but eating white snow is strictly forbidden. You know perfectly well that eating snow instantly lowers your core body temperature, forcing your body to frantically expend precious energy. That's why you always carefully melt dirty water over a hot fire first, and only then drink it cautiously in small sips. But plain water spoils quickly in barrels, so your main drink in the longhouse becomes a very weak ale. It provides your body with extra valuable calories and is completely safe, since the liquid is thoroughly boiled during brewing. In essence, you're drinking liquid bread, which warms your soul and protects your body from dangerous infections. Imagine your meager dinner. You stubbornly gnaw on dried fish, washing it down with slightly warmed aromatic ale. Your powerful jaws work like stone millstones, grinding the tough, unyielding food for several hours every evening. Modern, expensive dentists would be absolutely horrified by such a colossal strain on your thin enamel and joints. But this constant, aggressive chewing exercise makes the bones of your skull and your facial muscles incredibly powerful and strong. It's your real weight training, which you do every time you simply want to eat a hearty meal. You don't just consume food, you literally fight for every calorie against unyielding, harsh natural materials. Hunting in the dead of winter is more of a rare exception for you than a frequent and consistent rule. You understand that trudging through deep snow for the faintest chance of shooting a wild deer is far too energy-intensive. If you burn 2,000 calories on a long hunt and bring back a skinny hare worth 500, the harsh math will simply kill you. Like a wise old man, you fully understand this basic law of energy conservation and prefer to conserve your strength as much as possible. The best way for you to guarantee survival through the winter is to methodically eat what you prudently stockpiled back in the warm autumn. Your pantry is your main bank, and the calories in it are the only real currency of the northern world. Your dietary system is the perfect biological survival mechanism, honed by dozens of your hardy ancestors. No culinary excesses, just pure, uncompromising functionality, where every gram you eat is instantly converted into life-sustaining warmth. Modern popular fad diets are aimed solely at cunningly tricking the weak body into losing weight. Your diet solves the exact opposite, far more important task: to make your human body survive at any unimaginable cost. And in this brutal, natural game of survival, your dietary rules work absolutely and flawlessly every single day. You are living proof that the right fuel can turn a human into an indestructible ice machine. When you need to leave the warmth of home, your layered clothing instantly becomes your personal, portable, impregnable fortress. Today's well-known manufacturers constantly boast about membrane fabrics that wick away moisture and retain precious heat in extreme conditions. You, however, invented your own brilliant natural counterpart to this membrane long before the first chemical polymers and scientific laboratories even existed. Your main secret weapon is unwashed wool, which contains a huge amount of natural sheep fat. This amazing lanolin repels cold water just as effectively as the most expensive modern synthetic outdoor fabric. You can stand calmly in the freezing rain, knowing that the drops will simply roll off your rough woolen shoulders. Your system of proper layering is a fundamental skill taught today in any paid winter survival course. You've been mastering this principle for millennia, always wearing a thin base layer of natural, soft linen. Linen doesn't irritate your weathered skin and absorbs sweat perfectly, instantly wicking it away from your warm body. Over the linen, you wear thick, heavy woolen shirts that create reliable air pockets for effective insulation. Air is your best natural insulator, and your several thin layers always keep you much warmer than a single, bulky, thick pelt. You dress in layers, allowing you to flexibly regulate your temperature depending on the intensity of your work. Your ancient footwear deserves special attention because frozen feet are your first sure step toward frostbite. Your leather boots are quite thin, and on their own, offer absolutely no protection for your feet against the wild, biting cold. But here's where it gets interesting. You stuff these boots very tightly with dry grass and soft forest moss. This cheap, plant-based insulation creates the perfect cushion that retains your body heat and absorbs excess moisture. If the grass happens to get wet, you simply toss it into the fire and stuff your boots with a fresh batch of free insulation. Your feet always stay dry, and that's the main unwritten rule of any successful survivalist in the polar regions. You know perfectly well that huge mittens are always preferable to fashionable gloves, and your life experience immediately confirms this. When all your fingers are together in a single enclosed compartment, they effectively warm each other with their own body heat. In gloves, each of your individual fingers is isolated, so it loses its life-saving warmth several times faster. You wear huge, coarse woolen mittens, sometimes cleverly sewn together with animal hide for tough protection against the wind. It looks far from as elegant as the modern, stylish leather gloves of city dwellers, but it does keep your fingers intact. You're willing to sacrifice fine motor skills in the cold so that you'll still have those hands come spring. Your heavy cloak deserves a special mention as the absolute pinnacle of functional medieval design and incredible practicality. You securely fasten your thick woolen cloak with a massive forged brooch on your right shoulder, always leaving your right hand completely free. This allows you to grab a weapon or use a heavy tool at any unexpected moment without getting tangled up in the fabric at all. In severe frost, this same enormous cloak instantly transforms into your sleeping bag or a miniature tent under which you can take shelter. One such simple item easily replaces an entire backpack of high-tech and unbearably heavy hiking gear for the modern, careless tourist. You don't carry excess weight because every extra pound steals your precious energy in the cold forest. To move quickly through deep snow, you'll definitely use wooden skis or your wide-woven snowshoes. Wading waist-deep through loose snowdrifts means pointlessly burning through your daily allowance of precious calories in just a few hours. Your snowshoes distribute your body weight over a much larger area, preventing you from sinking deep into the snowy trap. The gliding technique on your long skis allows you to easily cover vast distances with minimal expenditure of muscle energy. This is not a sport or a fun pastime for you, but the only real way to travel between settlements in winter. You glide across the snow crust like an icy ghost, leaving miles of deadly winter terrain behind you. Your thick beard and very long hair also serve as an incredibly important element of natural protection against the biting cold. The abundant facial hair reliably protects your cheeks and neck from frostbite in the face of an incredibly strong, icy headwind. Heavy icicles often completely cover your gray mustache, but beneath this thick, icy shell, your body heat is consistently preserved. Modern office beauty standards strictly require a clean-shaven face, but in your cold, that's equivalent to voluntarily taking off your hat. Your hair acts as a completely natural scarf that's absolutely impossible to forget at home or accidentally lose in the snow. Your appearance frightens Southerners, but it is precisely what allows you to laugh in the face of the harshest winter storms. Your wet, sweat-soaked clothes are your main insidious enemy, far more terrifying than any bear or well-armed foe. If you sweat in the bitter cold, the moisture soaks into your fabric, and it begins to drain your heat at a deadly pace. That's why you always move at a steady, calm pace, never letting your old body overheat or sweat excessively. Taking off your warm outer jacket while actively chopping wood is a strict no-no for you, even if it's 20 degrees below zero outside. Modern city tourists often make this fatal mistake, sweating in their expensive down jackets and then freezing instantly at the first rest stop. You, however, move with the wisdom of an old wolf, carefully pacing yourself and keeping your clothes completely dry. Protecting your eyes from treacherous snow blindness is another serious problem you have to constantly deal with on bright days. Ultraviolet rays reflected off the white snow can literally burn your retinas completely in just a couple of hours spent on a bright street. Although you are completely unaware of the existence of ultraviolet rays, you fully understand the physical consequences of your long winter walks without protection. You easily use special bone-framed goggles with narrow slits that strictly limit the light entering your vulnerable eyes. This incredibly simple technology brilliantly saves your eyesight hundreds of years before the first fashionable sunglasses appear. You gaze at the dazzling snowy world through a narrow slit, keeping your eyes sharp for future spring battles. When you finally return home, the process of slowly undressing becomes a solemn, sacred ritual that absolutely brooks no haste. You must shake the white snow off yourself very carefully before it treacherously melts and wets your precious sheep's wool. Your wet boots are placed carefully away from the open fire so that the delicate leather doesn't dry out and crack from the intense heat. Your clothing is by no means just rags. It is your sophisticated survival gear, requiring constant, careful, and attentive maintenance. In your harsh world without shopping malls, a hopelessly ruined jacket can mean only one thing for you: an incredibly swift death. You care for your woolen armor just as meticulously as you do for the sharpest and deadliest weaponry. The survival of your fragile body is only half the equation in the harsh conditions of the endless, dark northern winter. The true, terrifying ordeal for you is the psychology of the prolonged polar night and the complete, months-long isolation from the rest of the world. When the dim sun appears on the cold horizon for just a couple of short hours, the human brain immediately begins to panic silently. The long absence of bright sunlight throws off your circadian rhythms and can easily trigger severe, debilitating seasonal depression. Modern qualified doctors treat this condition with special daylight lamps and incredibly potent chemical antidepressants from the nearest pharmacy. But you don't have access to pharmaceuticals, so you rely solely on iron willpower and your time-tested rituals. But you have no trendy pills, so you use the only available remedy: constant, meticulous manual work. The long, monotonous winter evenings in your longhouse never pass in utter idleness or quiet, meaningless despondency. In the dim light of the faint hearth, your gnarled hands are always busy. You masterfully carve wooden spoons, weave ropes, or mend nets. This small, repetitive motor activity works for you like an incredibly powerful meditation, calming your nervous system and distracting you from gloomy thoughts. Monotonous, heavy manual labor brilliantly saves your sanity from quiet madness in this closed-off, smoke-filled wooden box. You simply don't give your brain a single free moment to start succumbing to destructive panic or despair. The meticulous repair of your weapons and heavy armor requires true precision and an incredible amount of old man patience. The long winter becomes the perfect time for you to sharpen your swords, generously oil the leather, and replace the rivets on your shields. Your rare iron is incredibly expensive, so you care for it far better than you do for some pets or servants. For days on end, you methodically polish the blade of your axe, turning this routine into a true, sacred ritual of purification for your mind. This is how you methodically prepare for the spring raids, mentally binding your survival to the inevitable bloody victories to come. The glint of sharpened steel in the light of the hearth constantly reminds you of the reason you endure all this unbearable cold. Ancient, captivating sagas and endlessly long nighttime tales become the main tools of your collective psychological survival. A severe information famine drives a healthy person mad just as surely as the absolute absence of warm, physical food. Today, we mindlessly scroll through endless social media feeds to give our lazy brains a cheap, quick dopamine hit and the illusion of connection. But you gather your family tightly around the fire and begin to recite thrilling stories of cruel gods and brave heroes. This is your ancient internet, your only movie theater, and your primary means of passing on critically important knowledge to your new, young generations. Your confident, hoarse voice cuts through the darkness, creating vivid images of great battles right in the minds of your spellbound, attentive listeners. Your oral sagas function as a complex system of psychological coding for every single member of your gathered tribe. They deeply embed strict survival instructions, rigid moral codes, and striking examples of the human spirit's incredible resilience. When the fictional hero of your saga endures terrible hardships but does not give up, your listeners project this complex virtual experience onto themselves. Your voice, accompanied by the crackling of burning logs, creates a powerful collective illusion of absolute safety and the ultimate meaning of your entire lives. No one can afford a moment's weakness or surrender to the cold, even if the mighty gods of Asgard are constantly struggling against adversity. You are essentially conducting a mass psychotherapy session simply by skillfully telling old tales by the nighttime hearth. The social dynamics in your incredibly overcrowded longhouse are very much like a powder keg ready to explode at any second. Dozens of completely different people are locked up for several long months in a single small room without the slightest possibility of simply stepping outside. Even the slightest conflict can escalate incredibly quickly into a bloody brawl due to the accumulated wild irritation and animalistic stress. That is why, in your harsh culture, there are very strict rules of hospitality and extremely strict taboos against insults within the warm confines of the home. You, as the wise head of the clan, always act as an impartial judge, ruthlessly quelling any foolish quarrels in their most dangerous infancy. Your authority keeps people from slitting each other's throats in a fit of brutal winter claustrophobia. Loud, boisterous games and strength contests also help you release pent-up tension and stretch your stiff muscles. You play ancient board games with great enthusiasm, games somewhat reminiscent of modern chess, which perfectly develop your tactical and strategic thinking. Rough and tumble wrestling right on the earthen floor of your longhouse allows the young people to let off steam and warm up quickly on particularly cold days. This is by no means mere entertainment, but rather methods you've devised to maintain a strict hierarchy and social structure without spilling real blood. Modern, respected psychologists fully confirm that rough play is the best way to safely relieve stress within closed groups. You intuitively use game mechanics to preserve the mental health of your entire tribe, locked away within four walls. The winter solstice, the great and boisterous festival of Yule, becomes the most important psychological milestone of your entire year. It is the turning point of utter darkness, after which your short days finally begin to grow at least a little longer and brighter. You and your weary family throw a truly grand feast, burning the best firewood and eating into your precious, untouchable winter reserves. This boisterous celebration gives you a powerful surge of primal optimism. The worst is behind you. The sun is returning. You will definitely survive this winter. It sounds like a perfectly simple medieval party, but from a neurobiological perspective, it is a brilliant tool for completely rebooting an exhausted psyche. You trick despair with a piece of fatty meat and a mug of ale, forcing your brain to believe once again that spring is just around the corner. The sense of time in the dark polar night is severely distorted, turning your long days into one endless, twilight-drenched, viscous stream. Without your usual mechanical clock and a clear schedule, you can very easily lose track of the long weeks and the lingering dark months. But you regularly use deep notches on a piece of wood or the phases of the moon to track the passage of time with incredible precision. Knowing exactly how many days remain until spring gives you real hope and allows you to ration your meager remaining food with absolute rationality. Clear daily planning becomes your lifeline, preventing you from drowning without a trace in an ocean of cold despair. You cling to your notches like an anchor to reality, not letting winter depression dissolve your human identity. Successfully weathering your winter means not just surviving physically, but also preserving your true, pure human form. When the dirty snow begins to melt, it is not mad savages who emerge from your wooden house, but warriors ready for brutal campaigns. Your mind has been thoroughly tempered by pitch-black darkness, and your body has undergone months of extreme recovery and rigorous home training. Your cozy office job constantly requires anti-stress training after the slightest routine conflict with your boss near the water cooler. You, however, emerge from your 6-month icy captivity with a broad, stern smile, fully ready to conquer and plunder new, distant lands. This polar night did not break you, but only honed your spirit into the perfect psychological weapon. Your blacksmithing in the dead of a harsh winter is not just a craft, but a matter of your technological superiority over future enemies. While the rest of the pampered peoples of the South wait for spring to begin preparing for war, you are already actively and laboriously working with metal. Your cramped winter forge is often located in a separate outbuilding so that stray sparks do not accidentally burn down the main wooden living quarters. You stock up on coal for the blazing furnace in advance, burning entire oak groves in special deep earthen pits hidden from view. Modern metallurgists use incredibly complex furnaces, but you create your deadly masterpieces using simple, crude, leather bellows. In your old hands, an ordinary, shapeless piece of iron is transformed into a masterpiece that will decide the fate of entire kingdoms come spring. The frosty, dry air actually becomes a huge technical advantage for you as an experienced medieval blacksmith. The dense, icy oxygen pumped by your bellows into the red-hot forge allows you to achieve much higher coal combustion temperatures. You know this completely intuitively, noticing that in winter, the stubborn metal melts and is forged much faster and much more easily. Your cold, powerful forced induction is, in fact, a primitive, yet ingenious precursor to the modern turbochargers found in high-performance automotive racing engines. You masterfully harness the complex physics of atmospheric pressure long before European scientists were even able to explain it logically. Nature itself helps you fan the flames to such an extent that they begin to melt even the most stubborn iron ingots. The process of properly tempering steel in harsh winter conditions demands incredible skill and an absolutely steady, unwavering hand from you. You plunge your blade, white hot from the fire, abruptly into icy water or oil, where the colossal temperature difference creates incredible tension. If you do this even slightly wrong, your precious sword will shatter into pieces with a loud clang right in your hands. You sense the metal's temperature unerringly by its glow in the dim light of the forge, more accurately than any modern, expensive laser thermometer. It is a perfect fusion of you and the elements, where your years of experience are passed down only through spilled blood, severe burns, and sweat. You breathe life into your steel, making it as merciless and cold as the winter raging beyond the wall. Your weapon is a purely functional tool, with absolutely no room for superfluous, silly, flashy, decorative elements. You craft your battle axes to be surprisingly thin and light, so your hand won't tire after long minutes of heavy close combat. Sounds rather strange, doesn't it, given Hollywood stereotypes about the massive, unwieldy axes of the wild northern berserkers? Many modern amateurs think that a heavy axe deals more damage, but the extra weight drains your stamina incredibly quickly. You forge the blade so that the balance is a perfect compromise between penetrating power and your phenomenal speed and agility. Your axe becomes an extension of your arm, the ideal physical lever for effectively dealing maximum lethal damage. Crafting new, sturdy shields becomes yet another crucial winter task for absolutely every male in your community. Your true battle shield is not made from a single piece of oak, as is often mistakenly depicted in cheap historical Hollywood films. You assemble it from lightweight pine or linden planks, tightly covering them with very durable, specially tanned rawhide. This clever design not only weighs much less, but also works perfectly as a springy shock absorber against a powerful enemy strike. An enemy's iron sword simply gets hopelessly stuck in your soft wood and leather, allowing you to deliver a deadly counterattack. Your shield isn't just a solid wooden wall. It's a complex composite armor capable of absorbing incredible kinetic energy. The wood you cut specifically in winter possesses entirely different properties than ordinary summer or spring wet wood. During the cold season, the sap in the trunk freezes completely, making your wood much denser and incredibly dry on the inside. You specifically select the best material during the harshest, bitterest frosts, knowing full well that such planks will definitely not crack in battle. Modern elite carpenters call this high-quality winter harvested wood and still value it incredibly highly on the market. You, like an ancient illiterate shipbuilder, create your invincible fleet simply by understanding the hidden cycles of water movement within the trunks of large trees. Your drakars will glide over the waves without a single crack because you felled them at the very right moment in nature. Heavy iron chainmail is also forged and assembled by you during long, dark evenings by the hot, blazing forge. A single suit of chainmail requires up to 30,000 tiny steel rings, each of which you must individually hammer together by hand. It is such an insanely monotonous task of precision craftsmanship that an unprepared person could easily go mad or become completely blind from it. But you methodically link ring after ring, fully aware that your very life depends on the strength of this weave. Your modern, monotonous, boring work with electronic spreadsheets looks like a fun, relaxing game compared to this back-breaking labor. Every strike of your little hammer on a rivet is your personal insurance against an enemy arrow or an accidental spear thrust. The technology for making your ship's rivets is also perfected to absolute perfection during these endless, icy, dark months. Each of your wooden drakars requires thousands of iron rivets capable of withstanding the colossal tensile stresses of spring ocean storms. You forge them from very soft, spongy iron that can bend greatly but never snaps in half under stress. If you were to presumptuously use hard, brittle steel, your ship would simply crumble on the waves from the harsh vibrations of the hull. Your understanding of metal fatigue easily replaces modern giant engineering laboratories that test the strength of various materials. You build ships that writhe on the waves like sea serpents, and it is the flexibility of your nails that gives them this life. Your tools for skillful wood and bone carving are valued in the far north no less than two-handed battle swords. In winter, you create magnificent, expensive ornaments, intricate combs, and needles from walrus tusks or the hard antlers of reindeer. These small, elegant items will fetch a fortune in the markets of southern lands and ensure the future prosperity of your entire clan. You masterfully carve intricate runic patterns with your miniature, sharp chisel, the precision of which you have carefully honed since your earliest youth. The beauty of your unique creations still astounds armchair archaeologists, forcing them to reconsider silly myths about the savagery of the Scandinavians. Hidden within your rough, killer's hands lies the talent of a brilliant artist, capable of transforming a piece of bone into a true work of art. Thus, this long winter becomes for you not a time of hibernation, but a period of intense technological advancement and preparation. While thick ice securely binds the northern seas, the future successful expansion of your people is forged in your smithy and workshop. You emerge from winter fully equipped with sturdy, repaired ships and razor-sharp, deadly iron weapons. The rest of pampered Europe is only just beginning to slowly awaken in the spring and reluctantly prepare for a new, peaceful agricultural season. It is precisely your winter production base that makes the Vikings' swift summer raids so devastating, incredibly bloody, and successful. You use the winter as your personal military factory, and when the ice melts, the world will once again tremble at your unstoppable might. Your harsh Viking era ended long ago, but your survival methods remain incredibly ingenious engineering solutions from antiquity. You don't struggle against the harshness of nature in vain. Instead, you skillfully use its laws, turning cold and ice into your allies. You are an old man who has safely survived dozens of winters. In fact, you are a scientist, a biohacker, and a brilliant engineer all rolled into one. Your longhouse is a smart, perfect machine for survival, and your meager diet is a brilliant, balanced sports nutrition plan. Modern, spoiled people have a lot to learn from you because you know how to thrive where they would simply die instantly. Your legacy is not only bloody sagas, but also the triumph of the human mind over the most unbearable natural conditions. We've naively grown accustomed to seeing ourselves as the pinnacle of technological evolution, sitting comfortably in warm apartments with powerful heaters. But the moment the power goes out during a fierce winter blizzard, all our confidence instantly crumbles like a house of cards. Your secret knowledge clearly reminds us that true strength lies in understanding the fundamental principles of the universe around us. You are not a filthy savage with an axe, but a master of the most complex adaptation, capable of completely subjugating the merciless polar night. This harsh, ancient wisdom that you possess still deserves our most sincere respect and incredibly careful study. And while we complain about the cold wind outside the window, you simply smile into your gray beard, knowing the true value of warmth.